Let's talk about this. This video is brought to you by The Outstanding Store. The Outstanding Store. Get the merch link in the description section. Like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you get notifications anytime I go live and make a video. Y'all know what it is. Let's get into this. I like to clickbait y'all sometimes, so I said I was wrong, but I'm not wrong. But I do think that there's nuances to the Ahmaud Arbery's case that I think can get Travis McMichael and them all in trouble. And I maintain from the onset that according to the law, and I'm just going to give a quick synopsis, it's not going to take long. According to the law, I don't believe that the Travis McMichael, Gregory McMichael, and Roddy Bryant should be convicted. I think they should be found not guilty. Here is why. Very quickly, according to Georgia law, and a lot of people get this confused. I don't know why. They think it's probable cause or whatever to make an arrest as a private citizen. It's probable suspicion. So they only have to have probable suspicion that a person committed a felony crime. Probable suspicion of a felony crime. A felony crime, a burglary, which is what they're accusing Ahmaud Arbery of, is that a person enters an occupied or unoccupied structure with the intent. They've articulated in the court of law that they have intent, that they have seen him go in multiple times. He was running the day of. There was stuff stolen from the residence. They are building their argument that is reasonable, probable suspicion that he is a part of a felony crime of burglary, especially because there's multiple calls in the area. They've seen him on camera multiple times, whatever the case may be. And they believe that they were right in conducting the citizen's arrest. They pursued him in the citizen's arrest, attempted to stop him in the citizen's arrest, and then he attacked Travis McMichael for the shotgun. That's when he had got shot fatally and lost his life. That is the defense. I believe they have a legitimate argument in that, and I don't think that they intended to kill a guy, and I think that they never intended to even shoot the guy until he started fighting them for a shotgun. Now, based on the prosecution have a compelling argument to a certain degree, which I think is going to come down to sympathy or empathy. Can they empathize with the McMichaels, or will they empathize with Ahmaud Arbery? Because there's clearly a history of Ahmaud Arbery being violent towards people, running from people with guns. That was brought up in the court of law. His previous encounters, his previous pursuits from police with a gun, his behaviors, his aggressive behaviors, all of those were brought up in the court of law. The McMichaels, obviously they painted the picture of, Greg McMichael being a former police officer, Travis McMichael being in the military, former military police. And Roddy Bryant, I mean, he ain't got nothing to do with nothing. I don't even know why he's even on trial, to be honest. However, the prosecution is arguing that, and this is damning to the defense, is that on the 2 weeks before the actual shooting, they spoke to Officer Rash. Officer Rash has obviously been a part of this whole thing as well. And Officer Rash had mentioned that Larry English had said he had never seen Ahmaud Arbery take anything from the house. Now, does that mean he didn't? He just said he hadn't seen anything. So right now, perceivably, what they're dealing with is potentially a trespassing situation. The spirit of Officer Rash is that when he catch Ahmaud Arbery, he's going to trespass him from the facility. Now, it was a little bit questionable to me that he wouldn't also question him for burglary. I don't know what he was thinking. Like, anybody that I catch in that area as a police officer, I'm going to question them as a potential burglar in these situations. At least detain them and ask them questions after reading the Miranda. Did you steal anything from this place? Do you know anything about the theft from the boat? Do you know anything about the gun that was stolen from Travis McMichael's house? Are you associated with these things? You would think that if a guy continues to go back to the community, all times of the night, and this is just them catching him in that house, who's to say he's not walking around the community stealing guns and everything else off camera? You would think that an officer would pursue investigating anybody that they catch in an area that don't belong there as a potential suspect in crimes that have not been proven. However, according to the prosecution, they should have known that at this point there was no exigency for a person involved in a burglary, which I would argue that they have a pretty strong case. And if the juries feel sympathetic or empathize with the McMichaels, understanding the totality of the circumstances in the court of law, they spoke. They had community members come in, people that ran the community Facebook. They had people come in to testify of the rash of crimes that went on in the area, the fear, the contact with Ahmaud Arbery on multiple occasions, or at least them seeing him on multiple occasions, having contact with him, his behaviors, his mannerisms. they pretty much painted a pretty big picture of the entire community having an issue with these things. And Ahmaud Arbery is one of many people that are terrorizing their community. And if the jurors find sympathy in it, it can understand and relate to the vigor of people in the community simply trying to stop a person who is consistently coming to the community, potentially a person who's stealing from the community, then they may go in favor of the McMichaels. If they have sympathy for Ahmaud Arbery and feel like although he was a criminal, although he was breaking in somebody's property and God knows what else he was doing, this is just stuff they catch him on camera doing. And this is, they don't know if he stole from the boat or not. They have no idea. But if they say, okay, but that wasn't warranted to chase him down. If they felt like they were chasing him and cornering him, even though I don't perceive that as cornering because he could have ran through the grass, could jump in somebody's yard. I mean, what person would run towards a guy with a gun and then fight the guy for the gun? He could just run right and go out of the community. They can't turn the truck around. They standing outside the truck. But if somebody's more sympathetic to Ahmaud Arbery to say, look, he felt like he had no choice. He had to either fight or he was going to get killed. I mean, which, like I said, to me, it doesn't seem reasonable because Ahmaud Arbery knew he was doing something he wasn't supposed to do. This is multiple times he's been at this particular residence, and now he's running for what? Initially there was no guns present. They never even pointed a gun at him, and neither did he point a gun at them. You would think a rational person would be like, okay, these guys are chasing me. Let me call the police, or let me stop and see what they want. Hey, you call the police, or run to a neighbor's house and say, hey, man, these guys are chasing me. Help me. You would think it would be more than that than a circle and fight a guy for a shotgun. So it's really going to come down to those elements. Personally, I believe that the McMichaels should not be found guilty. I'm leaning more towards believing that the jury will have more sympathy for Ahmaud Arbery than the McMichaels, given the climate that we live in, given the fear factor of how they feel like they may disappoint the community and they may suffer backlash. It's not as clear as Kyle Rittenhouse, and I think that they may find them guilty. I don't think they're going to fire Ronnie Bryant guilty, but I've seen worse things because that dude was just videotaping. What person has the intent to kill somebody if he's videotaping the encounter? And he's just driving behind the guy. His intent could be just driving the guy until he run out of the community. So I don't really think that there'll be an argument there. But however, I want you to comment in the comment section whatever your opinions are. Just make sure your opinions are rooted in facts, okay? Don't use words like they should have never talked to him. Like, you got to consider the citizens arrest law, and you got to consider the citizens arrest law is very ambiguous. They've since done away with it, but it's very ambiguous. I mean, I watched the court hearing. They were questioning and arguing back and forth about what is the actual interpretation of this. Can you chase a person that's for a felony? Can you not? Is the spirit of the law, the letter of the law? I mean, it's not even clear. I don't even know. The judge could give jury instructions to say we're only going to focus on the pursuit and the use of force at the point of contact with the gun. The judge may not even ask them to consider a citizen's arrest. I mean, I don't know. But I can't tell you that the citizen's arrest laws are so ambiguous. I mean, it's crazy to me how it's not fully formed out to where it's clear that this is when you can actually chase. What can you do when you chase, right? You can pursue them, you can chase them, but can you detain them? Can you use force to detain them? These are things that are not in the statute at all. How much force can you use when you detain them? It's not there. There's nothing there to say that you can't touch them or you can beat them. You can beat them until the cops get there. I think that was a very weird law, and it's open for so much interpretation. It could cause a reasonable doubt from the jurors, but in conclusion, what I would say is that, no, I'm not. I don't believe that I'm wrong. I just wrote that on there because I know a lot of haters are going to come watch this video because they want me to be wrong. But what I will say is that I've maintained that I think that they should be innocent based on what I've seen in the court. There could be a possibility, although I think they're innocent, that they could be found guilty in a court of law. We shall see this coming week where that's going to go. And so I love you guys. I appreciate you comment. See you on the next one. I'm out.